Filmmaker Shawn Justice and his wife experienced the tragic loss of one of their children. Did this loss drive them closer to God or have them walk away? Listen to their story on how they were able to press on as God remained faithful, as He always does, today here on Faith on Film. Hello and welcome to Faith on Film. I want to thank you for tuning in today. My guest today has had an interest in film from the young age, as his father was an amateur documentary filmmaker. At age 19, Shawn started his own production company and began writing screenplays in 1992. Since then, he has produced many client projects for Fortune 500 companies, as well as produced and directed 5 faith-based films. His latest string of films was made possible by his son Caleb, who passed away at the age of 15 in 2012. Shawn, welcome to Faith on Film.
Thanks, brother. It's great to be here.
Fantastic. You know, I said something there in your bio, and I also alluded to it in the teaser, which obviously we really want to talk about because there might be some families out there that need to hear how you dealt with that. But you know, as tradition on my show, the first thing we want to know is a little bit about you and who you are. So in the next 5-6 minutes, just give us your entire life story. I know that could be difficult, right? Tell us your entire life story of how you got into filmmaking.
Well, my name actually might sound a little familiar, not because I'm famous or anything, but because I have a twin brother.
Yes.
And so it's kind of double the trouble. So he and I actually started really our interest and our love for filmmaking through our dad, as you mentioned. He had a Super 8 camera. He had the sound stripe. He did these little documentary Christian films for the different youth, or this main youth camp that our churches owned. Sorry about that.
Is that your phone pinging?
Okay, it's my daughter. She just messaged me.
Oh, okay, cool.
All right.
Hey, this program, this program is all about how we are, at home, in our office, whatever, so that's fine. I had a guest that actually had a dog walk right in behind him, so no problem.
There's that one YouTube video of the guy.
Right.
That was pretty fun. Anyway, he's on network TV. We're not on network TV, so no. So it was really cool because I think a father always kind of looks for things that he can bond with his sons on, fishing or hunting, and my dad involved us actually in his filmmaking. And I remember when we were 5, we started animating our toys and our Legos, and my dad's not a huge emotional communicator, but it was really one of the ways that we bonded, and that's kind of where we took our passion from there. And it was, he would let us use his camera now and then as we got older on our own, and did a lot of fun stuff. And then he bought a video camera, and we started, playing with that with the old. In fact, he bought a Betamax when they first came out. He was really progressive, and so it was great. We had a lot of great times. Kyle and I actually ended up going to Performing Arts High School. Like Fame in the old days.
Yes.
And showing my age there. But no, it was great. We won awards for our work there. We really excelled, and I don't say it's partially how we found a professional identity early on and knew what we wanted to do. But I remember the big thing that made me think about film and wanting to do it was seeing Raiders of the Lost Ark. It wasn't Star Wars was cool. But Raiders just had that element of God's character or the kingdom elements of showing God's power. And I'm like, oh my gosh, wow, what if we could actually do that with Christian films more? And that kind of started my real passion of combining the two elements. And for me, so I started writing little stories in high school, and the thinking of the day was, well, if you're going to do film, you got to shoot on film. So, we didn't think about shooting those on video necessarily. Right. But we just continued to excel. Kyle and I did a Christian music video show where I was the host and directed the show. And, we watched real videos back on TBN in the day. I'm sure you remember that. And we got, well, we could do something like that. And so I got to interview Brian Duncan and Phil Kiggy and
Nice.
artists, and it was a blast. We had so much fun. And by the time I got through high school, Kyle ended up going to Moody Bible Institute, and I stayed in Portland. Went to PSU. We thought about going to USC, but my parents were in that range of not making enough to pay, and then not being able to get scholarships necessarily back in the day, and at least how it was. And so I went to college for business at PSU and started my own production company when Kyle left at 19, and haven't looked back. And to make ends meet, of course, the easy thing was to do corporate work and commercials and all those things, but all the while the passion was there.
I can tell that you're in your editing suite, I imagine, all the monitors I see behind you, but just in case you're not aware, they've your laptop or something has gone asleep, and so it's gone to just that really cool yeah. Don't you all just love live TV? Yeah, and while you do that, there you go. See, it looked kind of cool behind you, though, to have all these little, just lights go up, sideways and up and down and all this. It was kind of interesting. But it's interesting how similar in reality our journeys are, because I also started when I was a kid. I was about 9 years old or so, and I remember shooting little films with my dad's Super 8. Actually, it was an 8mm. It wasn't even a Super 8 yet. In fact, it was the kind that you had to wind up. And so I started doing, I actually did animation like you did. I took a little piggy bank that I had and made it go around the table, just by clicking one, as little as I could, one frame at a time. Maybe it was a couple of frames because there was no way to really, work it. But, here we are now years later, and we're still involved in this. And I think it's all God's plan, that he puts in our hearts from early on. And it just depends on us whether we stay within his plan or whether we deviate from his plan. And I'm glad to see that you did, because you've created some great content, a lot of it of which we carry on Parables. But listen, we're gonna take a break, and we'll come back. And I want to talk about the situation with your son. I mean, you went through something that I don't think no parent should ever go through. I can't even imagine what that must be like, and I certainly don't even want to have to imagine it. But when we come back, we'll talk about that a little bit. All right?
All right, great.
Fantastic, folks. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Only one university in the nation was chosen to demonstrate at the World Equestrian Games, and it's the only Christian university in the South offering an equine management major. Only one university produced the video leading into coverage for the Games, and it's the only university with students hired as part of a broadcast crew for 9 Olympic Games. One university, equipping students for a lifetime of leadership and service. Asbury University. Start here, impact the world.
Cell reproduction, more than duplication. It's careful selection and organization, ensuring the perfect balance for development and growth. Powerful, so is our programming. Parables, the leader in empowering entertainment. Parables. Be empowered. Start your free trial today.
Welcome back to Faith on Film. I'm here with my filmmaker friend, Shawn Justice. Now, Shawn,
yes, sir.
Again, I mentioned this in the teaser, and then also when I introduced you and read your bio, but you went through something that no parent should ever go through. And yet I know there's some out there that have been, and perhaps they need to hear your story about this and how you dealt with it, because I mean right in the middle of your filmmaking, you lost your son. Can you tell us what happened there?
Yeah, it's I have the full story, but I got to compress it. It was Caleb and our oldest son Joshua. They went to high school camp in 2012, and the thing about Joshua and Caleb is they were very close and very supportive, loving brothers. They also love the Lord, and people often commented watching them down front worshiping, and just they're over 6 feet, and they're just hands up, and it was very inspirational, and I was very proud of both of my sons and their pursuit of their relationship with Jesus, because Kyle and I were very similar to that in our middle school years. In fact, I remember Kyle kind of really maturing in his faith when he was about 12 and starting that process and really digging in. And at first I was a little jealous. So I was like, oh man, I wish I could, I want to be like, and then we're like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I can. So, and it was just so neat to see him. So when they went to camp, just all energetic and excited. But on Monday afternoon, I got a call from his youth pastor, and he said, Shawn, something's happened to Caleb at the waterfalls. I'm headed over there now, and I don't know what's going on, but I'll let you know. And all I could think to say was, just pray, Ricky, just pray. And then he breaks down and sobs, and he's like, I'm so sorry, Shawn, I'm so sorry. And I said, it's okay, Ricky. And it was like God's peace was already starting in, because I mean, if you told me 5 years before that I was going to have a son pass, I would have been like, no, just what you might think, how you might react. But it was God all the way, and there was just
wow.
I was going, okay. So I said, okay, Ricky, keep in touch. And so I hung up the phone. Well, my two younger kids were off at day camp, and my wife and my mother-in-law had decided to go get massages that afternoon. And where you put your phone in the locker, and you just right. And I said, remember in that morning I was saying, hey, go and enjoy your day, have fun. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't get a hold of Sarah, my wife, and I didn't know what to do. I'm like, okay, Lord, what do I do? And he said, get on the phone and start getting people to pray, anybody and everybody you know. And I'm like, I can do that. So I just got on the phone. I quickly called, and within people in ministry, friends I had, we had people praying around the world within an hour. Yeah. And I still didn't know what had happened. And we ended up going, and my one of my associate pastor friends at church came and picked me up. We went home. Sarah was just arriving, and we drove up to the camp. And there was so many incredible things that God was even doing then that, Sarah said, she's like, you remember that dream Caleb had? And it's like, well, what dream? And she said, well, he came to me about a month ago and said, Mom, I've been having this dream, and I think maybe God's trying to tell me something. And it's like, well, what's a dream? And he said, well, we're as a family, we're hiking up this mountain. It's this beautiful day, and we're just laughing and joking around like we normally do. And he said, and he'd been having this dream for about 3 or 4 years, consistent.
Wow.
And he said, but at one point in this hike, I get out ahead of you guys, and I make it to the top of the mountain first. And I see you guys down there, and you're, I'm encouraging you, and I'm going, oh my word, I don't remember that dream, but that's incredible. And God just, up to that 2.5 hour drive, just kept showing us things and bringing things up, and we were singing and praying, and Dave, I'm sure, driving was like, wow, okay, they're in their own little world, but it was God was there with us. Yeah. And by the time we got to the camp and we kind of found out that they hadn't found the bodies yet, because what had happened is him and a leader asked some kids if they wanted to go hike behind a waterfall, and Caleb volunteered. He had his walking stick, but it was super dangerous, and they actually had written rules against that. But apparently, something happened to where this leader felt like he could do that, and I don't blame him. I mean, he was an adventure seeker guy, but I also knew Caleb and probably would have recommended him not going. Because he was 6 foot, just trying to figure out how to, live in his lanky 15-year-old body. And they both were hiking around, and I guess Caleb slipped in his footing right around the waterfall or super slick rock. Mm-hmm. And he fell in. The leader reached for him, slipped in himself, and they both perished. So that's I hope that's an encapsulation.
Wow. Well, I hope this encourages people out there that are watching this program that, yes, it's a devastating situation. It's something that's got to be very painful, but that if you allow God to just kind of work through that you'll be okay, that you'll make it in the end. And but you said something interesting here that I read in your bio, and you said that your latest string of films were made possible by your son Caleb. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take another break here, and when we come back, maybe you can explain what you meant by that, and then we'll talk about the films that you've recently made. Okay?
Great, thanks.
Fantastic, folks. We'll be right back.
I never realized how much work goes into taking care of horses.
You think that's hard? Try taking care of thousands of animals at the same time.
Go ahead. Think bigger.
Cell reproduction, more than duplication. It's careful selection and organization, ensuring the perfect balance for development and growth. Powerful, so is our programming. Parables, the leader in empowering entertainment. Parables. Be empowered. Start your free trial today.
I wonder how long a dolphin lives. I wonder if they can make cookies in space. I wonder when people started brushing our teeth. I wonder if people and dinosaurs ever lived together.
Want to find out?
I wonder how much a cloud weighs.
Welcome back to Faith on Film. We're here with my filmmaker friend Shawn Justice. Shawn, I made reference to the fact that you said something about the films that your most recent films now were made possible by your son Caleb. What did you mean by that?
Well, I had done one film and then waited several years doing corporate work and just almost was looking for another opportunity. But when Caleb passed, and because of the situation, we pursued the insurance money that was available, and we were very purposeful in that. We wanted to invest in projects that were really Caleb's heart, because he loved Jesus, he loved other people. We heard stories and stories from people after he passed, and the other thing we wanted to do is preserve his memory within our family. And so we've spent a lot of time in Central Oregon at a place called Sun River, we bought a cabin there, and we called it Caleb's Cabin. But with some of the other funds, we actually ended up, I said, why don't we make a small film to start with and use the funds for that? And so that's what started the process in 2014 of shooting The Reconciler. And that's, I think it's still on PureFlix, streaming, and plenty of other places. But Caleb is named as the sole executive producer of the film. What? And that was fun to do.
What a great way! What a great way to honor your son and his life and his legacy. That is fantastic. So Shawn, I know there's a movie that is I think your latest movie. I had the star of the movie on the show a few months, maybe at this point, maybe a couple of months ago. Can you tell us a little bit about that movie?
We did Out of the Darkness. I worked with Graham Greene on that one, and that it kept inspiring other films. I actually shot a movie that we're editing now called The Narrow Road, which is what was on the screen.
Okay.
But the one that
which is gone again, by the way.
The screensavers. Don't you love So what happened in between shooting The Narrow Road, which is my faith-based Russian mafia movie, is I was approached by Amy Anderson, who had a project developed with Russ Doughton, if you remember him, fame, and he ended up giving the project back to her, and she was looking for a filmmaker. There was a gentleman working for Dave Cresciano, actually, that referred her to me because we're in the Pacific Northwest, and we shot it in 2017. Ended up releasing the film this June, VOD and DVD, and it's called The Murder of Innocence, and it's my first based on a true story movie. I said I never wanted to do a based on a true story movie, but it was intriguing. Amy had a really cool story, and I worked with her on writing the script and kind of brought her on as a co-producer as well, from a distance, just to be over all the footage, and wanted to really involve her because it was her story. So that came out. We had it in several film festivals. We won awards for it. Which was great. It was really an interesting experience all around.
Well, you said you never wanted to do a true story movie, but it's interesting how God always has the plan for us. We may not think, we may not want it at first, but you know what? If we obey, we'll experience success because He knows best what the right plan is for us, right?
That's right. That's right.
So how can people get a hold of you? How can they follow your work and learn all about the different movies that you've done, and specifically this one, maybe?
JusticePictures.com. That films tab at the top. You'll see the different films that I've done and been involved in and been a writer on.
Okay. Great. Well, listen, time always flies on these shows that we do. But I want to thank you for taking the time. I know that you're probably hard at work right now, but thank you for taking the time to join us today and sharing especially your story about your son. I really hope that makes a huge impact in the people that are watching this show.
Me too. We're actually writing a story on a movie on his life.
Well, we definitely look forward to that, and when you have that ready, we'll have you back on the program so you can tell us more about that. All right?
Great. All right. Thanks, brother.
Great. Folks, don't go away. We'll be right back.
Sunflowers. To pollinate and reproduce, they turn and face the sun. Nature's way of reminding us that for ultimate growth, we must seek the light. Parables. The leader in empowering entertainment. Parables. Be empowered. Start your free trial today.
I wonder if penguins have knees. I wonder how many colors we can't see. I wonder why there's so many stars in the universe. I wonder if we ever looked like apes.
You want to find out?
I wonder if puppies have belly buttons.
Welcome back to Faith on Film. I want to thank you for tuning in today, and I'm really grateful for Shawn for taking the time to not only be on the show but to share such a painful story. Again, and I've said it several times during this show, that is just something that no parent should go through. But I know that there's some of you out there that have gone through it, and hopefully this ministered to you a little bit. I want you to write me also. Let me know how you liked the show, this particular one especially. Let me know if this did have an effect on you in some way, and if you've gone through this, perhaps. But just write me and let me know in general how you like the show also. And it's very, very easy. Just simply write me at faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. That's faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. And of course, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Faith on Film TV. That's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I have to really think about those. At Faith on Film TV. So I look forward to hearing from you. Until next time, remember, if you want to maintain a healthy soul, feed it some good, healthy entertainment. Take care.
We heard stories about Caleb. I mean, there are 3 kids, but we didn't really even know very well, who said, Caleb was my best friend. And we're like, really? Wow. But he had this way with people, and God crams, almost an entire life into this, 15-year-old kid. And in fact, God said, Shawn, I had Caleb, how in the New Testament, Paul was on a race, and he kind of compares it to a marathon. But God said, Shawn, I had Caleb on a sprint. And so there's just so much of that God showed up, and more incredible than we could have ever expected.